The night he laughed at my dream, something inside me cracked. Not loudly, not all at once, just enough for me to realize that the man I loved was slowly shrinking my world, my confidence and my voice. He took my money. He broke my spirit. But in the quietest moment, something inside me began to rise again.
You are watching Betrayal Story Central. Let's step into the story.
The night my husband laughed at my dream, something inside me cracked. It did not shatter all at once. It cracked quietly, like a hairline fracture in glass that no one notices until the whole thing gives way. We were at the dining table, 2 plates, cold food, the television murmuring in the background. I had rehearsed the words all day, in the shower, in the mirror, while stirring sauce in a pot that did not belong to any recipe. "Dorian," I said, "can I tell you something I have been thinking about?" He did not look up at first. He was scrolling through his phone. His thumb moved faster than his attention. "Hmm?" he said. "You are thinking again. That sounds dangerous." He smirked a little. I smiled weakly, pretending it was a joke. "I am serious," I said. "I have an idea." He sighed and dropped the phone on the table. "All right, Ilara, go on, tell me." The way he said my name made me feel like a child presenting a drawing that would probably end up in the bin. I took a breath. "I want to start a small baking business from home," I said. "Nothing big, just a few orders a week. Cakes, pastries, maybe a page online so people can find me." The words felt fragile and brave at the same time. He stared at me. For a long moment he said nothing. Then he laughed. Not a gentle laugh, not a surprised laugh, a sharp one. It cut the air between us. "Ilara," he said, "you cannot be serious." My stomach tightened. "I am," I replied quietly. "People like my baking. The neighbors always ask for seconds. I could charge a little. It could help us. I know things are tight now." He shook his head, still smiling in that way that made me feel small. "Everyone likes free cake," he said. "That does not mean you should start a business." I swallowed. "I could start small," I said. "I could learn more. Practice. I have been watching tutorials, reading things. It is not just a random idea." He raised his eyebrows. "Since when did you decide you are an entrepreneur?" he asked. "You are not built for that, Alara. You are soft. You worry too much. You hate conflict. Business is not for people like you." His words stung, but his tone hurt more. Careless, confident, final. "I am not talking about a big company," I said. "I just want to try, to see if it could become something." He leaned back in his chair. "You are good at supporting roles," he said. "You make the house nice. You cook. You make things comfortable. That is your strength. Putting yourself in front, starting a brand, that is not you, and that is fine. Not everyone needs to lead." I felt heat behind my eyes. I blinked it away. "It feels important to me," I said softly. "I do not want to be invisible my entire life." He rolled his eyes. "Invisible?" he repeated. "You have a roof over your head, a husband who takes care of things, food on the table. You are not invisible. You are just bored." The worst part was that he believed what he was saying. "Besides," he added, "what happens when you fail? People will laugh. You will cry. I will have to pick up the pieces. Let us save everyone the trouble." He picked up his fork again like the matter was settled. I stared at my plate. My food was cold. My hands were warm and shaking. "I thought you would at least encourage me," I whispered. He gave a short laugh. "I am encouraging you," he said. "I am encouraging you to stay in your lane." I did not answer. The crack inside me widened. We finished dinner in silence. Later that night, I washed the dishes slowly. The water was too hot, but I let it burn my fingers because it felt like something I could control. From the living room, I heard him speaking on the phone. His voice carried easily through the thin walls. Guess what Ilara said tonight? He told someone. She wants to start a bakery from home. Can you imagine? She watches a few videos online and suddenly thinks she's a business owner. There was a pause. He laughed again. Yes, I told her to calm down. She is built for small things. These big ideas will just stress her. The words pushed into me like cold air. Built for small things. That night, as he slept peacefully, I stood alone in the kitchen. The house was quiet. The clock ticked softly. The streetlights cast a pale glow on the counter. I placed my hands on the cool surface and whispered to myself, I am not built for small things. My voice shook, but it was there. A part of me died at that table. Another part of me woke up in that kitchen. End of chapter suspense beat. The next night, when Dorian fell asleep, I opened my laptop, typed how to start a home bakery into the search bar, and decided that if he would not believe in me, I would learn how to do it without him. The next night, when Dorian's breathing settled into that deep rhythm he always had when he slept, I slipped quietly out of bed. The floor felt cold. The house felt too large. But something in me felt alive in a way I had not felt in years. I padded down the hallway, careful not to let the floor creak. The kitchen light hummed as I switched it on, filling the room with a soft glow. It became my sanctuary. I opened my laptop and clicked the bookmark tutorials I had saved in a folder titled Later, videos on pastry dough, frosting techniques, small business basics, supplies, pricing, all the things Dorian said I was not built for. I watched them silently, taking notes in a tiny spiral notebook I had hidden in a drawer. I wrote so carefully that the scratch of the pen sounded too loud. When the notes ended, I started baking. Nothing fancy, just practice pastries, cookies, cupcakes, simple bread loaves. My hands trembled with the first few steps, but the more I worked, the steadier I felt. The dough softened under my palms. The smell of warm sugar filled the kitchen. The clock ticked closer to midnight, but I stayed awake. It was the first time I felt proud of myself in years. At one point, I pulled a tray out of the oven and closed my eyes, letting the heat wash over my face. For the first time, I imagined a different life. A small bakery with my name on it, customers smiling, a place where I belonged. And then I heard footsteps. My heart jumped, but the footsteps faded. Dorian had turned in his sleep. I exhaled and continued. By morning, I had cleaned everything. No hint of my secret except the faint smell of vanilla on my fingers. When Dorian woke up, he rubbed his eyes and said, I had such a strange dream. I thought I smelled cookies. I smiled politely. Must have been the neighbor's place. He shrugged and went back to scrolling his phone. That afternoon, Mrs. Halpert, our elderly neighbor, knocked on my door. I opened it with a nervous smile. Ilara, she said, did you bake something last night? I could smell something lovely through the walls. My heart skipped. I tried a new recipe, I admitted softly. Her eyes lit up. Do you have any left? I brought her a small box with 4 cupcakes inside. She tasted one right there in the hallway. My goodness, she whispered. These are better than the ones from Marlowe's bakery. My cheeks warmed. They are not that good, I said. They are, she insisted. And if you ever decide to sell these, you already have your first customer. She left with a smile that stayed with me long after the door closed. That night, I baked again. Caramel cupcakes, chocolate muffins, a small almond loaf. I packed everything in little containers and shared them with a few neighbors the next morning. They were shocked, delighted, grateful. One said, "This tastes like something from a proper bakery." Another said, "You should sell these." The words felt unreal. At dinner, Dorian noticed the way I hummed softly at the sink. "What is with you?" he asked. "You look too happy." I shrugged. "Just a good day." He raised an eyebrow. "You? A good day? Doing what?" "Nothing. I said. He snorted. Must be the soap fumes. I kept washing dishes. Inside, I held the happiness close, safe, protected. Late that night, as I iced a batch of cupcakes, I spoke quietly into the empty kitchen. You can laugh at me, I whispered, but you cannot stop me. The next morning, I heard a soft knock at the door. Another neighbor, a younger woman named Tilda. Ilara, she said shyly, I heard from Mrs. Halpert that you bake. I have a small office gathering on Friday. Do you take orders? I blinked. Orders? Yes, she said. Could you make 6 dozen mini pastries? I will pay you, of course. 6 dozen. My heart raced. It was big. It was terrifying. It was exactly what I needed. Yes, I said. I can do that. She smiled, relieved. Perfect. I will send you the details. She walked away. I stood in the doorway shaking. This was more than a hobby, more than a dream. This was a beginning. That night, while carrying trays to cool on the counter, I whispered to myself, if he will not believe in me, the world will. The office gathering order consumed my entire week. Every free moment, every quiet night, every piece of courage I had left. I worked with a kind of focus I did not know I possessed. My hands moved with purpose. My mind stayed calm. My heart beat steady. 6 dozen pastries, 3 different flavors, perfect shapes, even textures. I wanted them to be good, really good. Not for Dorian, for me. By Friday morning, I stood in the kitchen surrounded by neat boxes tied with thin white ribbons. They looked professional. They looked like something from a real bakery. I ran my fingers across the lids and whispered, please let them like it. When Tilda arrived to pick them up, she gasped. Alara, these are beautiful, she said. They look like they belong in a shop window. Her praise felt like a warm hand on my back, steadying me, pushing me forward. Thank you, I said softly. She transferred the payment to my phone, more than I expected, more than I had earned in months of careful saving. I held the phone close after she left, just for a moment, just to let the reality sink in. I had made money from something I loved. It should have been a simple thing, but to me, it felt enormous. That afternoon, while Dorian worked from home, I cleaned the kitchen and tried not to seem too excited. He never asked about my day. He rarely wondered where my energy went. He assumed I had none. We need to talk about the bills this month, he said without looking up from his documents. I nodded. We will figure it out, I replied. It was the safest way to answer him. Later, while he took a call in the study, I stepped into the kitchen to wash my hands. My phone buzzed, a message from Tilda. I unlocked it quickly. They loved everything. People asked for your contact. Can I share your number? I covered my mouth with both hands. My eyes pricked with tears. I typed back, yes, thank you. My hands shook with a mix of fear and joy. This was real. People liked my work. People wanted more. When Dorian came into the kitchen moments later, I tucked my phone into my pocket. Why are you smiling? He asked. I shrugged. No reason. Must be nice, he muttered. He grabbed a glass of water and walked away. I exhaled. That night, as I lay in bed beside him, he talked about work in a tired, frustrated voice. His company had cut budgets. His manager had grown stricter. He felt undervalued. I swear, Alara, if I had half the luck some people have, he said, I would be in a better position. I listened silently. When he fell asleep, I slipped out of bed and returned to the kitchen. I opened my notebook. I wrote the names of people who asked for my contact. I wrote new recipes, new price lists, ideas for packaging. I tested a new recipe for almond shortbread, the kitchen filled with a soft, buttery scent. And then my phone buzzed again. This time, it was a notification from social media. Tilda Parker tagged you in a post. My breath caught. I opened the app. A photo of my pastries sat in perfect lighting on a wooden table. In the caption, she wrote, Our office gathering today was a hit. These pastries were made by a talented woman named Alara. Please support her if you need baked goods. She is incredible. The post already had shares, likes, comments asking for details. I stared at the screen, stunned. No one had ever called me incredible. Not my parents, not Dorian, not even myself. I rested my forehead against the cupboard door and let out a shaky breath. I had wanted a sign, something that told me I was not foolish for trying. This was it. This was the sign. The next morning, I woke early and checked my phone. 5 new messages, 3 requests, 2 compliments from strangers. My heart hammered with joy. I pressed my palm over my chest, grounding myself. But the real shock came when I opened the last message. It came from a local cafe, a popular one, the kind where people lined up outdoors on weekends. They wrote, "Hi Alara, we saw your pastries online. Can we schedule a tasting? We are exploring new suppliers." My breath stopped. I leaned against the counter to steady myself. A tasting, a real cafe, a place where people might buy my pastries every week. It felt unreal. I typed a trembling reply, "Yes, I am available." As I pressed send, I whispered into the quiet kitchen, "If this door opens, I will walk through it, no matter what Dorian says." The cafe tasting stayed on my mind for days. I prepared carefully. I practiced the pastries 3 times. I calculated measurements down to the gram. I moved with a strange mix of excitement and fear, like someone protecting a small flame from the wind. Dorian, meanwhile, paced around the house with an edge in his voice I had not heard before. His company had announced more restrictions, more targets, more pressure. He came home angry almost every day. On one of those evenings, the notification from the cafe popped onto my phone while he was sitting beside me on the couch. The message said, "We love the samples. Could we meet again to discuss a supply contract?" I covered the screen quickly, but Dorian saw the movement. "What is that?" he asked. "Why are you hiding your phone?" "It is nothing," I said, too fast. His eyes sharpened. "Let me see." I locked the screen and placed the phone on the table. "I said it is nothing," I repeated. He scoffed. "Who is messaging you? Some random guy." I closed my eyes for a moment. It hurt that his mind went straight to suspicion instead of curiosity. "It is not a guy," I said calmly. "It is a business." His eyebrows shot up. "A business," he said slowly. "What business?" I swallowed. "A cafe. They liked my pastries. They want to discuss a supply deal." The room went silent. Dorian stared at me as if I had insulted him. "A cafe," he repeated. "A deal. You are joking." "I am not," I said quietly. He let out a short, bitter laugh. "Ilara, please. You bake for fun. That is not a business. They probably want free samples. That is how small people get used. You are too naive to see it." My fingers curled. "It is legitimate," I said. "They asked for a meeting." He leaned forward. "You are not going." My breath hitched. His tone was final, cold, commanding. "Why not?" I asked. "Because it is embarrassing," he said. "Because you do not know how to talk to business owners. Because you will look foolish and drag my name with you." There it was, the truth. It was not about me. It was about him, his pride, his ego, his image. "I will go," I said calmly. "It is my work." His face hardened. "You will embarrass yourself." "That is my choice," I said. His jaw tightened. "Ilara, stay in your lane," he said. "That baking is a hobby, not a profession, and you will not make decisions like this without me." I felt something cold settle inside me. He truly believed he owned my choices. He stood up and walked to the kitchen. He opened the fridge loudly, slammed it shut, then stood there breathing hard. "This house is stressful enough," he said. "Do not add more chaos." I said nothing, because I knew silence angered him, but I also knew speaking would not change anything. Later that night, I returned to the kitchen to plan for the tasting. I mixed a new batch of dough. I prepared sample boxes. I wrote ideas for flavor variations. Halfway through icing a tray, I felt a presence behind me. Dorian. He leaned against the doorway, arms crossed. You seem busy, he said. I am preparing for the meeting, I said quietly. He stared at the pastries, his expression unreadable. Do you know what people will think? He said slowly, when they hear my wife is running some little cookie business? I set the icing bag down. They will think I am doing something I love, I said. He shook his head. No, they will think I'm a failure because my wife needs to work. My heart dropped. That is not what this is, I said. That is exactly what this is, he said. If you were satisfied with what I provide, you would not be doing this. You would not be chasing attention. You would be content. I stepped back from the counter. I am not chasing attention, I said. I am chasing a dream. His face twisted. Dreams are luxuries, he said. And you do not have the skill or the strength to keep up with real stress? He walked toward me slowly. I know you, he said. You crumble under pressure. You cry easily. You get overwhelmed. Do you really think you can handle business meetings? Orders? Expectations? Each question felt like a stone placed on my chest. I looked down at the pastries, then at my trembling hands, then at the man who claimed to love me. I can try, I said softly. He laughed once, a cruel sound. Well, he said, if you fail, do not expect me to comfort you. He walked away. I stood there in silence, breathing through the pain he left behind. My eyes burned, but I held the tears back. I would not cry in front of him again. Not this time. Later that night, while cleaning the counter, I noticed something strange in the drawer where I kept my small savings envelope. It was gone, and Dorian was asleep with his back turned to me, breathing steadily without guilt. I did not sleep that night. I lay still in the dark, staring at the ceiling while the space beside me rose and fell with Dorian's calm breaths. My envelope of savings was gone, the one I hid under old receipts, the one I used for baking ingredients, the one I protected like it was a small piece of independence. I knew he took it. He had taken money from me before, little amounts, always justified, always for the house. But this time, it felt different. It felt intentional, calculated, a way to tighten the hold when he sensed it loosening. I waited for morning. I got up quietly. I baked a fresh sample box. Then I left the house before Dorian woke up. The cafe sat on a corner downtown, painted soft blue with warm lights glowing through the windows. I hesitated outside for a moment, holding the pastry box against my chest. People walked in and out with slow morning smiles and coffee cups. They looked comfortable here, belonging here. I was not sure I belonged anywhere. Then the owner stepped out. She was a tall woman with a calm face and sharp eyes. She looked at me with a curious smile. Elara? She asked. I nodded. She held out her hand. I am Verity. I run this place. Her handshake was firm, reassuring. Come inside, she said. I have been excited to meet you. Excited? For me? It felt unreal. Inside, the cafe smelled of roasted coffee and warm bread. Soft music played. Everything felt gentle and alive. I set the pastry box on the counter. These are the samples, I said quietly. She opened the box and studied each item with the care of someone who loved her work. She took a bite from the first pastry. Her eyes widened. Good, she said. She took another bite. Very good. A warmth spread in my chest. She tasted the second, then the third. Her face changed with each bite. You have something rare, she said. Balance, consistency. You do not oversweeten. You understand flavor. No one had ever spoken to me like that. I am self-taught, I said softly. That makes it more impressive, she replied. She walked me to a small table near the window. Here is what I'm thinking, she said. We need a pastry supplier for weekends and special orders. If you can deliver fresh batches twice a week, we can start with small quantities and grow from there. My heart hammered. Twice a week is possible, I said. You would work from home, she added. No pressure, no deadlines you cannot manage, just quality. I nodded again, still trying to believe this was real. She smiled. Ilara, your work deserves space in the world. My eyes pricked with tears. Thank you, I whispered. Her smile softened. Let us call this a trial for a month, she said. If things go well, we talk numbers and expand. How does that sound? My voice shook. It sounds like a dream. She reached out and touched my wrist gently. It sounds like a beginning. We shook hands again. As I walked toward the door, she called out, By the way, who handles your social media? You need better photos. People will want to see your process. I will work on that, I said. Good, she replied. Your future customers are out there. I stepped outside into the morning air. Everything looked brighter. On the walk home, I stared at the contract details she emailed me. A small agreement. Simple. Clear. It was the most important document I had ever held. When I reached the house, I paused at the front door. My joy trembled under the weight of what waited inside. I stepped into the hallway quietly. Dorian stood in the kitchen drinking coffee. He looked at me with suspicion. You left early, he said. Where were you? I held the pastry box close to my side. I had a meeting, I said. With who? A cafe. His jaw tightened. Ilara, he said slowly. We talked about this. No, I replied. You talked. I listened. He stared at me, trying to read something in my face. What did they say? He asked. They offered me a trial contract, I said. His expression shifted. Shock, annoyance, fear. A contract, he repeated. Yes. He set the mug down harder than necessary. Ilara, you are walking into something you will not be able to handle. I stood still. I will handle it, I said quietly. He shook his head. You are making a mistake. No, I said. I am making a choice. The air between us grew tight. He stepped closer. You think you can do this without me? For the first time in my life, I answered honestly, yes. His eyes darkened as he whispered, We will see about that. Thank you for listening to this part of my story. Everything I thought I understood about love and strength has begun to change, and I'm still finding my voice. In part 2, I confront the truth I've been avoiding, and the path forward won't look anything like the life I left behind. I hope you'll continue the journey with me.